Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. It's going to be a third thorough reading in English about the Hungarian twins Eliza and Henrietta Huszti, the girls that disappeared in Aberdeen, Scotland on the 7th of January 2025. And when I made the first two videos in English, it was still before they were found. So since then, we know that both girls were found dead in the River Dee, almost at the same place where they vanished. And by now we also know that the cause of death for both girls was drowning. How come they were found almost at the same place? It is not a big surprise because that area is a tidal area on the River Dee and it can really cause such things. So if the tides are very intense, high and low tides, the changes of the tides, and there were some very stormy days there, not so much a couple of days before the girls were found, it can really do such things. So the tidal changes can really push bodies back and forth. What I would like to talk about before I start the reading itself, more exactly before I show you the English version of a Hungarian video, I would like to talk about cold shock just in a couple of sentences. So cold shock, it happens when one suddenly falls in cold water and it has a very special nature how the body reacts. I would like to talk about it because there is a difference in drowning due to cold shock or drowning because of hypothermia. The reaction the body gives to cold shock, it is very intense and very quick. So normally the human body has a temperature of 36 degrees Celsius. When the girls vanished, when they entered the water, the river had a temperature of 1.5 degrees Celsius, so some 35 degrees Celsius colder than the human body. When it happens, so when one falls in that cold water, what happens is that the receptors right under the skin start to send immediate messages to the brain about the shock, the cold shock itself, and the reaction of the body will be intense. One thing is that the blood pressure will rise very quickly and very high. The adrenaline level of the body will suddenly increase very high. With all this, oxygen from the arms and legs is being pulled out towards the heart. So the heart is struggling with survival. Oxygen is needed and the body pulls out oxygen from the arms and legs. As a result of this, the victim is unable to move. So they can't swim out or can't move. If someone can pull them out of water immediately, in the next couple of minutes they can still be saved. The wet clothes must be taken off. They have to be dried and they have to be gradually warmed up. If they are not pulled out of water after cold shock immediately. So what happens is that because of that intense cold and because of the message the brain receives from the receptors under the skin, so the whole body is affected and the breathing of the body will immediately change. If you try to imagine what it feels like to be in such cold water. So what happens if the head is out of the water when the victim falls in such cold water? If the head is above water, it happens out in air that the body immediately produces 2 or 3 huge inhales without exhaling. So the very first reaction of the body as for breathing is this. The body falls in the water, cold water, very cold water. As a reaction of shock, what happens is 2-3 very intense inhales without exhaling. And then, in the next seconds, hyperventilation starts, which means very fast, uncontrolled breathing. It sounds like this. After some 10 seconds, Because of hyperventilation, the brain will not get enough oxygen and the victim loses consciousness. And after losing consciousness, the head will get underwater as well if no one can pull them out. In this case, the victim still breathes, only consciousness is lost and breathing will happen underwater, and it will result in breathing in water, and this water will be in the lungs. What happens in case when the victim falls in the water and at the moment of the fall, the head also submerges immediately? In that case, the very same cold shock reaction will happen. Just in that case, this very intense inhaling 2-3 times will happen underwater. And by this, almost 2 liters of water, 1.5-2 liters of water can immediately flood the lungs. And such an amount of water in the lungs is lethal within a couple of seconds. So autopsy will show, or shows because we don't know the results, but they already have the results. Autopsy shows the condition of the arteries and veins at the moment of death. They will be able to conclude if it was due to cold shock with the head immediately underwater or with the head above water right after falling in the water, or if it was not cold shock, because when one walks in, it is gradual. So in case of walking in, the reaction will not be cold shock reaction, but gradual cooling off, hypothermia. And in case of hypothermia in such cold water, it takes around 2 minutes for the body to lose consciousness. And after losing consciousness, the victim will sink in water and the same will happen. So drowning will happen, just it will be a different reaction in the body. You might have seen photos of epiphany rituals when people walk in icy water and they spend some seconds in icy water and they get out of the water and they go in icy water. Even today there are countries where they have such rituals right at Epiphany. That is a different thing because prior to walking in the water, in the icy water, they are standing out in freezing air. Cooling down in water is around 30 times faster than in air. If you imagine a very hot summer day, like let's say there are 40 degrees Celsius in the sun and you go in the shade where temperature is 28 degrees, it will be a lot better than 40 degrees Celsius. But cooling down will take more time than if you imagine that you walk in water that is 28 degrees Celsius. So that can even feel cold a bit as compared to the 40 degrees Celsius out in the sun. So water cools down the body a lot faster, around 30 times faster than air. When people do this Epiphany ritual, they are in bathing suits, waiting out in very cold weather, let's say minus 10 degrees or something like that. So they are already getting adjusted to cold temperature and the receptors under their skin will not sense it like that. And not just that, but they gradually walk in, or gradually sink. Not like falling and submerging at once, but gradually walking in the water. And after a couple of seconds, they come out. I still connect it to Epiphany, why the girls went out there at night. I still think, and let's call it my sixth sense, that it was an accident that one of the girls, I see it being Henrietta, slipped in the water. And I am curious about the autopsy results. I would say in her case, in Henrietta's case, it was drowning due to cold shock with a lot of water in her lungs. And in Eliza's case, how I see it in the inner pictures, it is hypothermia and losing consciousness due to hypothermia and drowning. How I see them, She didn't fall in the water, but she walked in, trying to find her sister, but at the same time knowing that she will not find her, knowing that they will not go back in the apartment, and hence the late night text to the landlady. And the question is why they went out there. Tidal rivers, or these tidal areas that are affected by the sea tide. So the sea tide happens, tide changes happen twice a day, and it is 12 hours between two low tides and 12 hours between two high tides. They went out at night, and they went out there at the same place 12 hours earlier. And I do think it has importance, and I do think why they went out there in the afternoon, it is because they wanted to check the water level at that tidal phase. And they wanted to check it for a reason. If one wants to commit suicide in a river, it's all the same how high the water level is in ice cold water. So what I see is that they wanted to check the water level, and they knew when they would go back at night, and I still think they wanted to adjust it to the witching hour, which is at 3 a.m. I would really be curious to see or to know if they had ever found their bag. They had one bag on them, and I would be curious to know the content of the bag, if there was a little wooden cross in it, floating candles, incense sticks, or a little angel statue or crystals, whatever. Something that would point at a ritual, like the accessories, little accessories for the ritual. But you can see text here now, which is about stargazing. It is also among the Epiphany rituals. And for stargazing, we need a dark place. I know that Epiphany was a day earlier, but that day, as I have checked it, it was a very snowy day, and even at night at 2 a.m. there was heavy snowing. You can see it here, it's a report backwards. So the previous day there was heavy snowing and raining at 2 a.m. And yes, I have just talked about the tidal changes, so you can see that it was low tide when they went out there, and 12 hours earlier it was the same tidal phase. So I think they wanted to check the water level, if it is walkable, if it is safe. I know it wasn't safe. So I still think they wanted to do something there, and it was not committing suicide. And now what I would like to show you, this is the first deck and 3 cards for both girls about why they wanted to go out at the riverside at that time of the night. I would say only one of them wanted to go out, and I would say this Henrietta, who wanted to go out. These are Henrietta's cards. The first card is the Queen of Wands, which is absolutely the magical queen. The queen that is charismatic, that believes in magic, that likes to carry out magic, do magic, using fire, burning a candle, sending out a wish. A very energetic card. It definitely doesn't mean any intention to die. It's fire and life, energy, magic, rituals, absolutely a very vivid energy. Her second card is the Star, stargazing, make a wish. And her third card is the Two of Cups, which is quite a sweet card. Let's do this together. There is absolutely no indication of suicide in these cards. As for Eliza, these are her cards. The 8 of Coins to start with, the 4 of Swords in the middle, and the Knight of Swords is the third one. And what these cards tell me, it's like, oh, okay, let's sleep. We had better sleep. We have to go to work tomorrow, as the 8 of Coins suggests. We also need to wake up and go to work, and let's sleep. So I don't think she wanted to go out. It was Henrietta that persuaded her without any intentions of harming themselves. And the third card, the Knight of Swords, it has already been here in several readings. It makes me feel Eliza was worried that it was not what she wanted, or maybe she even had a bad premonition, but she felt worried and she didn't want to go out as per tarot. And the out of hand tarot deck. This is the Queen of Cups in the middle, which is really about magic as well, healing as well, using the energy of water. Here you can see that the Queen of Wands is trying to see something from coffee. It is connected, can be connected to fortune telling or something that points at the future, like let's do something for the future, let's try to call in some magic to plan a better future, a nicer future, luckier future. I think they had a good life really, but they wanted to make it better, and it's not a bad thing really. On the left of the Queen of Cups, we have the Hanged Man card, and the Hanged Man means a change in perspective and waiting for something, and it makes me feel they were waiting for this occasion. I would say both of them, just because of the very cold weather and because of being tired. Eliza was like, okay, let's stay at home. Also, I think they really wanted to leave Aberdeen, and I have seen it in several readings that they didn't agree on where to move, on when to move, and my sixth sense says they wanted to come back to Hungary for a while to surprise their family, and this is why they didn't tell them about it. I even have a feeling that Henrietta wanted to repair the relation with their father, and they could have spent some weeks, some months here, and they would have been able to decide if they want to go abroad again, where they want to go, or if they want to stay in Hungary. But I do have a feeling that they really wanted to leave Aberdeen, and this is why they ended their rent some days before they disappeared. So yes, this Hangman card makes me feel they were waiting for this day. And the third card on the right, it is the Nine of Cups, which actually means happiness and joy. That they just wanted to do something for a happier life, for a more joyful and more prosperous life. The card that comes with the Queen of Cups, this is the Queen of Coins, which is also a queen, as you see, and a very rational queen, calm and rational, but it also means prosperity. So I would say one of the girls, Henrietta, was dreamier that night, and Eliza was the more rational one, though in general I feel them being the opposite, so that Henrietta is the more organized one and Eliza is the dreamier one. But I feel both of them being rational and spiritual at the same time. The card that comes under the Hangman, this is the King of Coins. Maybe many would interpret it like, okay, then a man wanted to take their money away. But the King of Coins, it is about enjoying the wealth we have created. You see there is a screen there, so it makes me feel like they were planning. I also wonder if police found anything on their computer that helps them find out what they were planning, like checking real estate pages, watching homes up for sale or up for rent. The King of Coins, it definitely doesn't mean anything like wanting to die. It means enjoying what we have reached so far, enjoying wealth, even if it is not that they were super wealthy, but it is about enjoying life. And the card that comes on the right, it is the Lover's card. And the Lover's card, it is about choices. Should I choose this or that direction? Where should we go? In Hungarian, we have a very good saying. Yeah, you will understand. So it is like, don't leave a known path for an unknown one. I don't agree with it. I think sometimes it is right that we have to leave the known path, the well-known path, for the unknown one, because miracles are waiting for us on the unknown path. And the third card that comes in the middle, it is the Devil. Also in Hungarian we have a saying, don't paint the devil on the wall, because it will show up. It makes me feel they were playing with their fate a bit, right, because of choosing such an hour, because it is quite a risky period between midnight and 3 a.m. The witching hour 3 a.m. is already okay, but it's a very critical period, a critical time window, right, because of the dark energies between midnight and 3 a.m. So it was very hazardous to go out there at such an hour. Now the card that comes under the Hanged Man, this is the 7 of Coins, which absolutely means planning for the future. It also means 7 years, so it can also mean that they have already spent 7 years there and they really wanted to change and they really wanted to make changes. But the 7 of Coins clearly points at the future. And the third card here on the right, it is the Tower card. And the Tower really means accident, something unexpected, something unseen, something that happens out of the blue, a major loss. It can mean breaking bones, breaking a car, losing a lot of money, but very, very often it means something one is not prepared for, and it usually typically shows up when an accident happens. As for their financial situation, this is the 9 of Coins, which is about money, about a nice comfort zone, about having money. So how Tarot shows them they had no financial problems. And for their plans, this is the Ace of Wands, which is again a very strongly energetic something this card shows, very similar to the Queen of Wands. Also, it shows a brush, you see, with a clear sheet, starting a new phase, starting to paint something new on our new canvas. The Ace of Wands, it is about fire and energy, and it connects us to this physical world. So Tarot absolutely doesn't show anything like them wanting to end their lives. Nothing like this, but quite the contrary. Okay, so this is what I wanted to share with you. Thank you so much for your attention. Stay well, all of you. Bye bye.